I would like to commend you on your decision to serve this great nation and welcome you to the beginning of your journey in the United States Navy. Now, you are about to undertake a rigorous and intense training program that has prepared generations of sailors for service in the world's most powerful Navy. Whether you call it recruit training or boot camp, make no mistake about it, it's hard. It's designed to be hard, because joining the Navy is so much more than just getting another job.
Dive!
Code red in fore compartment middle level.
Torpedoes in the water!
No, I never have thought I was smart. I thought the people I dealt with were dumb, including you.
Can you describe what it was like when you showed up to boot camp on the very first night?
It was stressful. I think when you imagine going to boot camp, you kind of imagine it like different than just taking a commercial fucking Delta flight from wherever you live to Chicago O'Hare Airport. But that's just what it is.
So I did fly into Chicago O'Hare, and then I got lost in the airport, as many people do. And I'm just like wandering around like a total idiot with this like file in my hand that I've been told can't leave my hand. So I treated that like actually the truth. Like in the flight, I had it in my hand. When I got to the airport, it was like in my hand, right? And I'm just like this moron, just like dazed and confused, looking around in Chicago O'Hare Airport. And then off in the distance, I see a lot of people sitting in rows on the ground, which feels abnormal. And I was like, maybe that's where I go. So I go over there, and sure enough, like it's super easy to spot any idiot holding a giant file in their hand. And so I just started getting like yelled at from across the concourse or whatever, And then it gets dark, and you're still there, and you're really wondering like, what are we even waiting for? Because there's like 100 other people here sitting on the floor with you now. It doesn't make any sense. But you wait and you wait, and it's midnight, and you load up on typical coach bus, just standard bus. There will be one person from boot camp who kind of like leads the bus, and that's your last shot to ask a lot of questions. And I had a lot of questions, but I was afraid to ask them like everyone is, because the whole time you're like, if I ask, am I a target, or whatever. And then eventually you just kind of end up there, and it's extremely confusing.
I remember fumble fucking my way onto the bus because I got to Chicago O'Hare super late, trying to sleep on the bus, but I was like too anxious to do so. So I was just like staring out the window, but not really like paying attention to anything that was happening until they forced us all to get off. You stand on the little footprints, you get in, they stand you in front of like these bins. They're like, all right, call your fucking parents, and then hang up and throw it in the bin. So I call my mom. She picks up. I'm like, hey, Mom, I made it. Love you. Bye.
And I showed up in the middle of the night. So I don't actually remember I never actually saw what it looked like to show up. It was pitch dark. And then you get there and you kind of get like this adrenaline rush. And then the real people start yelling at you. Like the people that yelled at you at the airport weren't really yelling at you in comparison to the people that yell at you when you get off the bus.
I have like two real strong memories of that first night. The first one was not many people knew that I had joined, so I just kind of like up in the night, like disappeared. I had a buddy of mine drop me off at the airport. He knew, my grandmother knew, a few other people knew, but other than that, I just kind of vanished in the night to them. But my grandmother didn't really understand the hell I was doing. When I got there, called, she finally answers, and I was like, hey, they're sending me Afghanistan because I wanted to lighten the mood.
And then they're just shouting at instructions that make no sense. Like they're telling you to not step on flags, but there aren't any flags. but then somehow you're actively walking on flags and getting yelled at for it. And they're telling you to do like military movements that you've never heard of before. And then you get in trouble for not knowing. But they also know that you don't know how to do it. Yeah, so that's showing up. It's very stressful. It's chaotic because everyone doesn't know what to do and everyone's getting yelled at, but it's like part of it.
And then they like file you out and they put you in like a classroom. And they're like, all right, now everybody in this room can't fucking leave until you go do your analysis in the next room. And obviously I was like too anxious. I was like super tired. I couldn't do anything. I drank maybe like a full gallon of water and just walked around for like a full fucking hour around this classroom. But yeah, they're just yelling at you like, like, what, you're too stupid to like pee? Like, what have you been doing your whole fucking life, idiot? Come on, like, hurry up. I'm tired of fucking waiting. Come on. And you're just walking in a circle, getting yelled at, and you're like, man, I must be fucking stupid. Like, because you're just too tired. You're getting like run through the ringer. They're trying to just stress you out.
So Jamie Kala, I'm a recruit division commander. The minute you get off the bus, there's going to be a lot of stress applied upon you. The yelling, the go, 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 go. Can you do this? Can you get that done? And it's up to you to basically perform under pressure.
And then after that, I think they give you your PT gear, and then you get your head shaved.
They gave me. They were like, "What size are you?" And I was like, "Medium or large." So I get handed fucking 2X PT gear, and I was like, "This is 2X," and he was like, "Go sit down." It's like, okay. So and then when I got to my division, days later, they're like, "Why's your shit so baggy?" And I was like, "I don't fucking know, dude. Wasn't my decision."
What is P Week?
Okay, so P Week. I don't know if P Week still exists. I assume it does. P Week is the first week of boot camp after you have a division. And so during the first night when you're all zombies because you've been awake for at least 24 hours, you all sit down and line up in this endless hallway. And then they just count off a seemingly arbitrary number of people. So like, all right, 98, next person start over at 0. And it's like, what are you counting to? But they're just like making divisions. And so P Week is the first week that you're there as a division. And I don't remember everything that you handle, but you basically take care of all the like admin stuff to see if you're someone that they even want to actually continue.
Processing days, that's where you're issued all your initial issue, DITY issue. They have their basic medical indoctrination, so they get a series of shots.
So during that week, you get a lot of shots. You get kind of everything you need to continue the rest of your training.
But you sit in the Pearl Harbor, which is on one side of the base, right? And so you stay in the medical building. You technically don't ever really leave it. And you just go in, do medical shit all day, just go to sleep, and you'll wake up and you go do more medical shit all day. And at some point in time, you get the whole battery of vaccinations that nobody can name of. You just stand up, somebody will shoot you. You walk 10 feet, somebody will give you another shot. You walk 10 feet, someone gives you another shot. And then they line you up in this big ass line. And they're like, all right, guys, this is the big one. And they take you into this other room. Like, all right, now everybody drop trowel and bend over this table. And someone walks in with this massive fucking needle that looks like they're going to spinal tap you. And they just shoot it in your ass.
It's penicillin, but penicillin's got to be chilled. So it's ice cold. That's why it's called peanut butter shot, because it feels like you're getting injected with cold peanut butter right in your ass cheek.
Pro tip on boot camp. If you can get in your record that you have an allergy to penicillin or any tangential medicine, be it amoxicillin or some of the other cillins, you get out of the peanut butter shot, and it is perfect. Because guess what? There's an alternative. There's an alternative that isn't a giant glob of peanut butter being injected into your ass cheek. So they had this thing at the time called the Moment of Truth, which I know has now been like rebranded. But basically, it's like, have you committed any crimes that you haven't told us about? Have you done any drugs that you haven't told us about? Is there anything from your past that you think that we should know? And then they're basically like, because we're gonna find out.
So in P Week, I was one of those people during Moment of Truth who I have a mental condition that requires me to tell the truth a lot of the time, which made me great as a nuke. But I knew that there was a flaw in my paperwork. Not that I had intentionally avoided answering anything truthfully, but I knew that there was a paperwork problem in my file. And so I was like, oh, fuck, I really don't want this to be me. I haven't done anything wrong. I have nothing to lose. I'll tell them. And so that was why they had to redo that waiver. And that was why I was there after I graduated boot, which led to me being there a year.
Something else about P Week is you have to stamp your name on every single thing that they just issued you. Literally stamp your name. So you get a stamp kit. And then every moment of the day that you're not spending transiting to and from medical, you are getting instructed specifically where and how to stamp your name and division on your underwear, uniforms, undershirts, every single thing you just got. So that's P Week.
How was it when you met your RDCs?
So this first class walked in, and to this day, arguably top 3 biggest human beings I've ever seen in my fucking life. Like, this guy was so big, he could not put his blouse on by himself. Because he couldn't, like, stretch his arms back enough to, like, put them into the armholes. Because his, like, fucking back and shoulders were so fucking massive. Yeah, so I was like, holy shit, I'm gonna die. But he came in, he yelled and woke us all up. And then 3 more people walked in and they're like, yo, dude, you're in the wrong bay. You're over there. And he's like, oh, okay, got it. So
during P Week and when you show up, it's sort of just like this rotating pool of RDCs, or some of them are RDCs in training. And you are confused about the fact that they keep changing. But then rumors start about like, oh, did you hear Chief so-and-so is going to be our RDC? Or did you hear Petty Officer so-and-so? And it's all wrong. And then one day they're like, all right, your RDCs are here. And then 3 dudes come in and just start berating you.
And out of nowhere, this like extremely tall woman walked in, silent, like dead silent, and then slowly turned around once, like 360, and then just started screaming. Like that was my intro to my RDC, was this extremely tall lady who I've never seen before in my life, who says nothing, walks in, casually looks around the entire compartment really fast at all of us idiots, and we're all just kind of like standing still suddenly, like we've been caught doing something, but we haven't. But we're just like, oh, there's a human. And so like we all freeze, and then it's just chaos, just like tons of yelling from her. I couldn't understand what she was even saying. And then like 2 more shorter individuals, like all of them were actually petty officers. I didn't have any chiefs, which I think is unusual. But they like filed in and sort of like came in and filled out the room. It was the weirdest experience.
We want to give them a shock, and we let them know that, you know, you haven't even started training yet. You haven't even begun to experience exactly what we're about to subject you to.
RDCs. So we met our senior chief first, and we were his last division before he retired. Super cool guy. He was an FMF Corpsman senior chief. He'd been forward deployed like a dozen times. But my second and third RDCs were a fucking Bert and Ernie show. It was my second RDC was a second class CS, and she was a giant cunt. And my third RDC was a MC2, and he was the dude that took the pictures of was it the Carl Vinson that dumped Bin Laden's body? He was the guy that took the photo that was on the Navy Times. Yeah, the 2 dudes were pretty cool. The chick was not. She's a pain in the ass. But the funniest part about the third RDC was we were his first division, and so he was like trying to gauge what to do based off of the two of them, the two polar opposite people that were above him in the RDC structure.
What are the major evolutions or milestones of boot camp?
So obviously there's P week, and then after you're done with that, you walk your ass all the way across space to go to your actual compartment, to where you spend the next, I guess in this case, 8 fucking weeks of your life. And then random ass just like basic military knowledge exams, like every 2 weeks, I think.
Yeah, so once you get RDCs, I think that part of boot camp is broken into 3 like segments. I don't remember what they're called, except that the last one is FEP, which is funny now that I think about that. That's what it's called. FEP. But it's broken up into 3. Maybe now it's 4 phases. But that's how you like keep track of what you're going to do next. In the division, the recruits make up sort of a rank structure. And that is chosen at some point kind of arbitrarily in P days when you first are a division. And then the RDCs, when they meet you, do like an evaluation of like what kind of chuckle fucks have been put in leadership roles. And they either decide to keep them there or have like tryouts to get somebody else in. So that also happens.
The events that you have to do are already like pre-planned. So there'll be a week where you have to do like swim qual stuff, right? So like, hey, make sure you can get in a fucking pool, tread water. You have to like jump off the high board, which is assuming like jumping off a ship. You have to inflate your coveralls to simulate, like, so you don't have to pretend to tread water forever. And that always takes forever because there's always a bunch of people who don't know how to fucking swim, and you can only progress so much further without them. You'll have your like firefighting training at a gas chamber, of course.
When I say gas, 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 you'll have 15 seconds to down your faces, tighten your straps, check floor seal, and put your hands in your pockets.
All of our recruits receive training that will help them the second they get to the fleet. Firefighting, damage control, weapons and seamanship. Our recruits get hands-on training and application with them all.
Put my hands in front of your face and stop shooting, okay? All right, put your ears on. Stand by. Airman, 2-week airman. All right, put your ears on.
I'm going to expect you to adapt, overcome, and beat.
Helios, always been ready! Helios, always been ready!
And then once you do all those, the last thing you do, I guess before warrior toughness, is battle stations. And then battle stations is when you have to do all the shit that you just did in a more realistic scenario.
Identify yourself.
Chief, Division 001, man in ready for battle session, Chief.
Very well.
Do not relax anything that is on you. Now, do you understand?
A 24-hour event where the recruit ceases to exist
First shot!
and a sailor is forged. Navy boot camp really is a machine with a swarm of moving parts, all working towards the same goal, making a sailor.
Okay, so that's the real milestones. I wanted to talk about the way that a division goes through milestones briefly, because I think everyone that has been through boot camp can appreciate the fact that everyone does this, and the people that don't go to boot camp can or people that are going to go to boot camp can recognize it when it's happening. But at some point, about a week and a half in, you're going to have people that want to do a speech every fucking night when people go to sleep.
Well, because usually it'll be like, you guys will fuck something up. It is designed for your whole division to fuck something up so you get punished, to stress you out. But somebody will always hate it. Like, guys, why doesn't you just do what you're told to do and we won't get in trouble anymore? And everybody else will realize, like, you're just going to. It's just gonna happen. Like, get over it.
We need to work together as a team. It's like, and then you hear everyone else that's normal goes, "Dude, suck my dick."
Shut up! I'm trying to sleep. They're the worst. I mean, it will happen. Every single division in boot camp will have one or more people that once the lights go out and everyone's going to bed, they will say, everybody listen up. And then they just spew some bullshit. Part 2 is when one or more of your RDCs like gives up on the division. And so they'll just like stop helping and they'll just like sulk in the corner. They'll do like the sad dad routine. And the idea is that they're going to trick the very mentally weak, gullible recruits into like, oh my God, he's so disappointed in us. He's never seen a worse division than us. That guy's just fucking off watching YouTube videos, like chilling. But the routine is that it's to trick you as a division into like, oh, we really are the worst. That will inspire another round of speeches from either the same or new people. And then you kind of get through all that. The speeches eventually kind of dwindle down. And then the RPOC, who's the leader of the division, will steal candy. And guess who's going to find it? The RDCs. And they're going to find it right before you're about to graduate. And the RPOC has a choice to make: admit to stealing it, which they didn't do, or rat out somebody else. And so that's just a fun game that they do to figure out like who's shitty.
If you're an all-male division, there's at some point when you're in the shower and you meet the guy in your division with the giantest hog in the division, and it's awkward for that initial 10-second introduction with his fucking hog, and then everyone moves on about it. The guy that had the biggest hog in our division was probably 5'4", a baby arm holding an apple, fucking ginormous. I don't know how he functioned with it. I'd be lightheaded. The first time we did the communal shower routine, all I hear is this black dude behind me. I remember his name. His name was Mac. Mac was a funny dude. Mac was like a few people behind me in line, and as we're going through doing the shower thing, all I hear Mac is goes, "God damn!"
Would you ever want to be an RDC?
Absolutely not, unless it has changed a lot since 10 years ago. I had a pretty extensive behind the scenes look at how it worked and what all the different roles were on base. Because an RDC is a position, it's a billet, but you have a lot of collateral duties and things too. The work hours are really bad. Like, it's one of the worst shore rotations you can have, especially if you're not at least a first class.
No, I would never, ever, 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 ever want to be an RDC. Unless I could like bring friends with me to all push the same division and literally make it just fun for us. But no, I mean, I cannot imagine a worse job, period. Especially not one in the Navy.
Absolutely fucking not. That'd be the dumbest shit ever. Like, you work the stupidest fucking hours ever. I've heard it's changed, so maybe it's better, maybe not, I don't know. But at the time, like, I remember seeing because they were taking in days. Like, they would show up at like fucking 4 o'clock. They wouldn't leave until like 1. So that's for them to like drive home, right? And then you show up at like 4 o'clock again.
We all used to come up with this idea of grandeur while we were on the boat doing Sparkle Team, that when we go to shore duty, that we would all just put a bid in for all 3 of us, but we all 3, like a package deal, and all 3 of us had to go be RDCs of the same division for our shore duties, which I think would probably have been a blast. We were so prepared. Would I go back and be an RDC? I mean, obviously not now, but If I was in versus go be an RDC versus running the fucking repair department, yeah, for sure, I would do that.
If you're at least a first, you can use that as like a springboard to pick up chief. But if you're lower than that, you're just tanking your own career for no reason because you're not going to be able to advance for the next 3 years. You're just not. And that's a huge, way to be pushed behind at that point. The 2 ribbons you pick up while you're there, no one's going to give a shit about. So like you're just tanking your career. The command climate, again, may have changed a lot in 10 years. I don't expect that it will have, but it used to be really bad. And they would joke that the command coin was a dime because people are just dropping them on each other constantly to get ahead of each other. So it was just like a really bad, if you are a staff member, a pretty bad place to work. You get to look forward to dealing with complete idiots who literally can't tie their own shoes or walk in a straight line for 8 weeks. You get to do that through holidays, through weekends, terribly long hours, all the time. You don't get to be on your phone fucking around during this. You have to actually be like 110% technically at all times. So we all have stories of people whose uniform looked like butt as an RDC, but they're supposed to be immaculate. And they are graded on that, right? And it's extremely competitive in a way that's really stupid because maybe you are an MC2, but in that command, you're going to go up against a CS2 also. And you guys are going to be ranked against each other. And it doesn't make any sense. There's really not an upside to taking it other than you may never have to do that shore duty again. And I think that's the biggest upside.
It's awful. And now it seems like, I mean, take command climate may have changed and work hours may have changed, but like we know that they added extra training with warrior toughness. And like being an RDC is shitty, but you also have to go through like RDC school before that even happens. And that's, I have to imagine, at least as bad as being an RDC, probably worse. So yeah, no. And for those reasons, I'm out. I don't want to be a fucking RDC.
What sounds interesting to me is doing it in a manner that is functionally better than absurd and funny for me, but also actually useful because there's a lot of stuff that RDCs do that has none use at all. I feel like at least for 82 people at a time, I could try to make it slightly better.
What is your favorite boot camp memory?
We had another. We had another guy that was in his 30s. He was, I want to say, a state trooper before he joined the Navy. But he joined. He was just like an adult dude, just trying to like make sure all the fucking 18-year-old dudes like, hey, that's stupid. Don't do that. Whatever. I remember like one of the first weeks we were in boot camp, we devised this 32 man bracket playing sack tap where you roll up a bunch of socks and you toss it across the floor. And he was like, what the fuck are y'all doing? We're like, playing the game. And he was like, dude, no. And we were like, okay. He was like our division dad. So we're like, all right. He was just disappointed that we were fucking off. But every night, almost every night, he would wake up. He would have someone wake him up like 30 minutes before the RDCs came in. And he would go to the head the entire time. So by the time the RDCs came in, he would come out. So this one dude goes, he just takes a lot of shits. I was like, dude, he's probably in there jerking off. Just let him do his fucking routine, whatever. He was like, I've got to ask him about it. And I was like, why do you have to ask him about it? He's doing his own shit. Whatever you do not ask this dude what he's doing in the bathroom before everyone else wakes up. Please, God. So naturally, this dude just can't hold it in anymore. And he's like, I've got to go ask him. I've got to go ask him. And so like two dudes like pin this guy down. They're like trying to keep him free. He's like, I'm going right now to go ask him. And like pinned him against his bunk. And we're like, dude, you're not going. So they convinced this dude not to ask him. And so go all the way through boot camp. And then you get to amnesty hour where you can like talk to your RDCs and do all this stuff. And instead of asking the RDCs questions, the first question that gets asked is by that dude. And he asked that guy, why does he wake up early every morning and go to the bathroom 45, 30 minutes before everyone else wakes up? And he was extremely candid about it. And he said he has wet dreams, nocturnal emissions. So he would go and he'd clean himself up and do his thing, you know? And so we were like, everyone in the compartment was like, and then he was like, this is not a big deal, you know, whatever. And then the RDCs, after this bombshell first initial part of the thing happens, our RDC goes, does anyone have any questions for us? Because we can't top that.
So Sundays at boot camp are pretty chill. I think it's the day that you're supposed to clean the compartment, so it's like field day. But it's also the chance that you're just allowed not at night to write letters, which today maybe just play on your phone. But Sundays are like there's less strict rules. It's like more of a holiday routine type thing. The only hard rule is like you can't sleep. You can lounge, you can hang out, you shine your shoes, write letters. I assume play on your phone. You just can't sleep. And we had this kid who was adamant that he was going to sleep on Sunday afternoons. And he just kept getting caught and yelled at, and then you had to, be punished or whatever, like physically. But that didn't stop him. He kept doing it. And so one of the RDCs that caught him, so he was sleeping on his back in between bunk beds, like he was in a coffin. And the chief is the one that found him, and he just stood over his body and then screamed into his face to wake up. And he was an inch from his face. And so he like almost headbutts him, realizes what's going on. The kid is freaked out. And instead of making him work out, he tells him to go stare out the window. So he makes him stand at attention, looking out the window of our compartment. And then he says, every 5 minutes, I need an update of what is going on outside. The thing is, the windows of the boot camp compartment are frosted. You cannot see outside. Unless they're open, which they weren't, you can't see outside or inside. And so the first 5 minutes passes and he goes, update. And the kid goes, it's cloudy. And he's like, nope, tell me what's happening. And then every 5 minutes, he made him make up a story in detail about what was happening outside until he was like embarrassed enough to not fall asleep on Sundays anymore. But it was just so genius to make him use his imagination about what was happening outside boot camp.
I hate those windows. I just like before segueing into mine, I want to mention I hate those windows. I lived with only those windows for a year and I wasn't allowed to go outside. Is like minimum security prison, bro. Yeah, just bonkers in hindsight. Like whatever. I hated this. I kind of have like two, and they're both super mild. If I'm trying to think about when I was actually in boot camp and not just at boot camp. One time we were as an entire division being PT'd like really hard, and they would say that they were going to do they would say like make it rain, which is where they close all the doors and they PT you enough that your body is giving off enough heat and sweat that it like condenses on the ceiling and comes back down. It's really gross, but like that's just, it does work. So we were doing that as one does. And then like out of nowhere, this chief kind of comes in and starts talking to our RDCs, and we're like getting PT'd super hard. Like we couldn't be fucking anything up. We're already being punished, right? And then our RDC leaves, and the chief just takes over and starts yelling. The RDC comes back in and is laughing his ass off because apparently we were so loud, you could hear us through the sound-powered phones, like fully stories down in this building. Which is kind of funny in hindsight. And so like our RDC like literally took off to listen to it and was like, hell yeah, that's my group, you know? But it was a weird experience. It was kind of fun.
Oh, one of the crazy things, I'm not sure of the psychological mind game that this is, but when a division is getting IT'd like that, they announce to the entire building that it's happening. And so you could just be like shining your boots and all of a sudden you hear like Division 340, stand by for intensive training. And then you just know that someone's getting their ass kicked somewhere in the building. Yeah, so a couple of quick hitters about boot camp is at some point you won't be allowed to use the curtains in the stalls anymore, so you will shit face to face with other people shitting. So be prepared to do that. It becomes normal. We did have a kid that personally went and woke everyone up that he knew wouldn't like hurt him in the middle of the night to come see how big his shit was. It was big. Like it was big. I was upset that I got woken up for it, but it was big. The showers are communal and it's like, so there's two posts in the shower room of the head, and they have 6 shower heads each or 8. I can't remember. I think it was either 6 or 8 shower heads on each post. And then everybody, the maximum number of people that can be in there is 1 per nozzle, and everyone is just showering like that as fast as possible because everyone only gets, 20 minutes to get 80 dudes through.
So I did spend a lot of time being like the person at the airport that people would show up and talk to. And I'd be like, hey, give me that file. You sit down now. Like I became the opposite side of that equation. And I made a point to always tell people the fastest route out of boot camp is to graduate, and it's 100% true. So if you're gonna go, graduate. And it's not hard to do that. But like a lot of people get 1 week in and have this existential crisis of like, I just want to go home. And you're gonna. And the fastest way to do it is to just get through it all. Because trying to leave boot camp for any other reason takes months and months. And you're treated like crap. So literally, if you just do your check boxes in order and just continue to exist, that's the fastest route out.
Wrapping up boot camp, I will say that the way to get through it is to be ready to be bored a lot and to understand that everything that happens is just like a part of the game. The whole thing is a game. It's all a psychological thing. You have to do certain things. You have to check certain boxes. But almost everyone that goes to boot camp passes. So don't stress about it that much. Holy shit.
Michael, that actually unlocked a repressed memory I had. Because yeah, brainwashed.
The post-snap.
Dude, I completely forgot about this. Because at one point in medical, one of the questionnaires asks you if you've ever taken steroids before. And that's it. You can't explain it. It's just like yes and no. And I had taken
we can tell.
Looking good.
Yeah. Well, I had taken topical steroid for the burn on my arm. I had been doing that for like 4 years. So I just yes. So I was
juicing.
like, well, yeah. And like the next day, at the very beginning of the day, they're like, who the fuck is Joseph? They're like, you're coming with us. And they take me to medical. Well, yeah, first of all, they looked at me. And I didn't understand what was going on.
Why are you standing up? You said steroids. Not hemorrhoids.
I just want to get big, petty officer.
Oh my god! I remember they pulled me into the office and they like stared at me awkwardly for like a solid minute. And then they're like, all right, we're going to medical. I'm like, what's going on? Like, all right, whatever. And I go there and I go back to the same doctor that I had to like answer that question. And they're like, you answered yes that you had taken steroids. I was like, yeah. I'm like, you want to explain this? I was like,
No.
yeah, I took like a topical steroid treatment for like 4. I don't know if this will show up.
Get the fuck out.
Yeah, you're not gonna be able to see it. I don't know if you can, but I used to have a giant burn all the way down this arm.
Oh my god, dude.
That covered like half my hand, all the way down my arm, and so it treated most of it, but I had to show them this little. It was a lot worse when I was 18 years old. It's mostly gone away, but I showed them. I was like, yeah, it was for this, and then I showed them all the fucked up like skin that I have on my hand. They're like, oh, okay, that makes sense. And then that was like the end of it.
Oh, steroids.
Yeah.
Yeah,
because then they
really
told
should have
me-
said non-topical.
Or just like specified anabolic
Anabolic,
steroids,
yeah.
or whatever.
Well, I didn't. Apparently, that's like
There's-
a no-no. But like,
I imagine RDCs coming in and yelling, "Who the fuck is Joseph?" It's just so funny.
And then the teeny tiniest guy stands up saying he did steroids.
Yeah, and that story's only better if you get to medical and you're like, "Oh, I thought you said hemorrhoids."
but I mean, like, because I went to a dermatologist for like years for that problem, so it didn't occur to me. I couldn't put two and two together.
That's an A plus for fresh memory.
Yeah, I couldn't
That's a
like put the
gem.
2 and 2 together. That they're like, all right, who's the jacked out of his fucking mind freak?
Yeah.
here?
All right, Brock Lesnar, please come forward.
Like RDCs were like, we've got a dude in there that just said, some jacked dude in there just telling us that he fucking took steroids. Like, we all gotta go see. What
He's so worried that it's gonna be so obvious that he took steroids that he said yes. He must be, I mean, massive.
Did you guys see him come in?
Moving petty officer.
I don't remember if I said that or not. I just
Probably not.
remember them staring at me, like hands on hips, staring at me. And I'm like,
God, dude, that's so.
all right, let's go.
I love that because it's almost like if I look back in time to a place I wasn't even there, but I can just like imagine them going, "Do I really have to bring this guy to medical?"
Right.
Like I do.
I imagine they were
Okay.
wondering, like, is it possible for steroids to not take?
Just not work.
Just shoot him. I don't
Son,
want
I think
out. I just shoot him.
Son, I think your body has rejected the steroids.